Hi everyone, this is Marianne. Welcome to my channel. Today we are going to unbox my Hobonichi covers from the 2018 store that I ordered last September 1 when the store opened. So I was one of those people who were experiencing the technical glitches, but I persevered and I was finally able to get the notebook covers that I wanted. And it came directly from the Hobonichi company. Um, and the shipping label is, please forgive the ink stain on my nail. The shipping label had the price of the notebooks on there. Customs took one of the copies of the shipping labels, and if you want to see what process I went through in claiming this parcel, I have a video of it and I will link it down below. I think I paid 2,400 yen for shipping. I think that's what it means. And my Hobonichi order came in a white bag. I've seen other people get theirs in a yellow bag. And an earlier Hobonichi shipment that came from me a couple of weeks ago, it was from the 2017 store, which I made a video of in my channel, and I will link it down below as well. It also came in a white bag. So I don't really know what decides whether we get the yellow bag or the white bag, but either way, it doesn't matter. I'm pretty happy that Hobonichi would deliver to the Philippines. There are so many nice things that we don't really get here locally. And there is the bright yellow box from the 2018 store. The Hobonichi has a different color box for every year, and they have an online store for every year. So the online stores for the previous years are still open for viewing, but you cannot purchase from there anymore, and all of the stocks that you can see there have already been marked out of stock and no plans for restocking. Inside the white bag, there was the yellow box and also these two little booklets. One is the life book for the Hobonichi Techo 2018. It just has very nice drawings of the features of the Hobonichi planner, which I didn't buy, and I will explain in this video why. It has Tomoe River paper, which is my favorite paper of all time. And look at that, it says cousin so big, weeks so skinny, and planner so English. I think it's quite funny. And then it folds out. It's actually quite a big piece that's been folded into 8 sections, and there's more information on there. Over here you have their social media accounts that you can follow, and this is a very amusing set of drawings. These are all of the characters that use the Hobonichi. I guess the point of this entire brochure is to show that any kind of person can actually use Hobonichi. It doesn't matter if you're a duck or an octopus. Like, for instance, this bird says he enjoys taping in leaves from his travels. And then this lady's name is Tomoe, so she has an affinity with the Tomoe River paper. And this one is from the underworld. He draws pictures of the dead in his Hobonichi. So this is a really funny drawing, and I really get the point of it. And here we have, let's see, here we have a cat who records whatever he finds on the ground, and there's this girl who smears what she eats on her Hobonichi pages. It's very amusing. I like this brochure. And here we have the booklet. It's the welcome book, and actually one of the covers on that spread, that one that I'm pointing to, it's the Caribbean blue, the one that I purchased from the 2017 store just recently. And over here we have more discussions of the features of the planner, and still more features of the planner. And I don't have the planner, but I will keep this booklet anyways. And these are the people who have have their quotes featured on here related to the Hobonichi. And I think this spread is very interesting because it shows the growth of the sales of the Hobonichi planner. They started out in 2002 with just about 12,000 planners, and then in 2016 they sold 610,000 planners. In 2017, their data has not been updated yet, but I'm sure in the next version or edition of this booklet, they will have updated it already, and I'm sure it will be much more than 610,000 copies of the planner. I have found an actual Tumblr link that discusses the history of the Hobonichi. I will link it down below. It's very, very interesting. It's made by someone who used to work for Hobonichi, so she is a very credible source. Here are the things, um, tips and tricks for how to use the Hobonichi. I kind of like that last one. And here is the founder of the Hobonichi Techo. This is Shigesato Itoi. I think he's a really cool dude. And now we get to the actual box. And I'm really, really excited for this. I have been excited about it ever since September 1. And I've been imagining what I was going to say in the video. And um, I've seen this before in other people's unboxings. I like this quote. Finally, they are starting to translate the Japanese quotes on the boxes because in the previous boxes they didn't. And these are the covers that I have purchased. Let me take them out of the box and then I will discuss them with you one by one. But first, let me explain the principle behind this particular purchase. As you all know, I already use and love my own planning system. I make my own pages and I have talked about this before in so many videos, and I will link a playlist down below that you can view. And I have recently transferred my journal from out of my binder into a separate notebook, and I also discussed that in a different video, which I will link down below. So I have purchased a Hobonichi cover for that particular journal, and I liked it so, so much. And so I have decided to buy a bunch of covers for that particular A5 journal that I'm using. And in choosing the covers, I have only one criteria. The covers should remind me of something about my happy childhood. Planning is a very, very adult enterprise, but journaling can be both adult or childlike. It really, really depends on how you want it to be. For me, I want it to be childlike. I want it to be a place that I can go to whenever I want to escape from the pressures of being an adult, which is kind of working out really, really well. So that's really the principle behind this particular purchase. And as we unpack each and every cover that I have chosen, I will explain why it reminds me of my happy childhood. First, let us have the Carnation cover. These are covers for the cousin because I have an A5 notebook for my journal, by the way. This is the Carnation cover, and this is the very first cover that called out to me when I was viewing the Hobonichi store before September 1. I was actually alerted to this lineup by a video made by the vegan organizer. She made a video reacting to the lineup announcement on the Hobonichi store. So I went to the store and then saw the Hobonichi cousin covers. And this was the very first cover that called out to me. And I really cannot, at that point, I really could not put a finger on exactly what in my childhood it reminded me of. I could not remember, but I really wanted this because I felt so much attachment to this particular color combination. It is like a salmony pink with a moss green um, color on the inside, and the bookmarks are also moss green. I ordered this when the store opened in September 1, and then I kept thinking, what does this remind me of? I wasn't really sure. And then a couple of days ago, just a couple of days ago, it finally struck me what this reminded me of. Doesn't this look a lot like one of those Winnie the Pooh book covers that we used to read? I even Googled a picture of it online and I found it. Here, let me show it to you. This is the book cover that I found. I had this exact same book with me and I read it over and over and over. It is a pink that is of a very similar shade to the Carnation, and there is no dark moss green on this book cover, but there's a lot of green that at that particular level of green, if you darken it just a bit more, it can be very close to the moss green cover of the Carnation Hobonichi cover. So I was really, really glad that I finally remembered the connection. The book that I had was just as dirty as that one, too. It was really, really old. The next color that we have is the blue gingham cover. It has that blue gingham on the front, and on the inside it is a bright pink. It is a different shade of pink than the Carnation. It's just different. This one is more pink. The Carnation is more of a salmon color, closer to my pink and black binder that everybody loves. So this is the cover. The blue gingham reminds me so much of a dress that I made for one of my Barbie dolls when I was in fifth. I think I was 10. And I remember that I made that Barbie doll dress on my mother's sewing machine. I found a large piece of blue gingham fabric in a drawer, and it was new, and I cut it down and then sewed a dress for my Barbie doll for it. It was really just a tube, a tube of fabric that went from her bust line down to her ankles, and then I attached shoulder straps to them, to the tube, and then I sewed a separate shawl so that Barbie doll can cover her shoulders if she gets cold. And my mother saw that I made a dress for my Barbie doll using that fabric, and she told me, I purchased that fabric for something else, you know. Apologized. I said, I didn't know, I'm so sorry. But she said, "Oh, that's perfectly fine. That's okay. Don't worry about it." But I think the only reason why she forgave me was that she was just so amused that I actually knew how to use her sewing machine at 10 years old. So when I saw the blue gingham cover on the Hobonichi store, I knew I had to get it right away because it fits right into my criteria for journal covers. The next cover that I got was this Thank You All cover because it really, really just looks very 80s to me. The print is very 80s. The color combination is very 1980s, and I grew up in the 1980s, and it is predominantly pink, and pink was my color when I was growing up. And let me show you the cover once again. Even the details remind me so much of the things that I gravitated to when I was growing up, like that pink chair, that house, that colorful house that kind of looks like a doll house. And inside is a very nice lemon yellow color. And even the beads that are in the bookmarks remind me of those beads that are in the hair ties when we were children in the 1980s. Everybody had hair ties or ribbons for their hair that had something like those beads on them. So this cover fits right in with my requirement for a journal cover. And this was actually part of the 2017 lineup, but they brought it again in the 2018 lineup. So I'm glad they made it available this year. The next cover that I got is actually a cover on cover. It is the Hana Nomad, and this was available in the 2017 store. It's actually a 2017 item that was just brought over to the 2018 store. And the first time I saw this cover on cover, it reminded me a lot of cobwebs. And I grew up with cobwebs, not the actual cobwebs because we didn't have really cobwebs in the house, but I grew up with cobwebs constantly being referred to by my grandmother, my father's mother, and I even wrote a short story about it, which I will link down below. Now, I am sure this cover and cover is not designed to be cobwebs. Those are leaves and flowers, and there's a teeny tiny swan at the back portion of it, but it really, really reminds me of cobwebs, probably because of those solid white areas on there. But I really like this cover on cover. And the last cover that we have is also another cover on cover. It's called the Beginnings cover on cover. And it has very, very small outlines of white birds that are flying across the sky. And this reminds me of, and I really, really like the details on this because let me just show you that there are metallic gold accents on this. It's very, very small, but some of the crosses and some of the specs are actually made of a metallic gold material, and it looks really nice. And the birds in this cover on cover reminds me of living in a farm when I was a little girl. Every afternoon, there would be flocks of birds that would just fly across the sky. We lived in a very small house with a very, very big yard. It was the biggest yard I have ever seen. And then my father's farm was just a short walk further. There was a lot of wildlife in the area, and the birds were just part of the entire thing. And that's what this cover reminds me of. By the way, let me just note that the pockets of these special edition covers on covers, they are matte. The one on the Hana Nomad is matte, whereas the one in the basic cover and cover is glossy. This is a cover on cover from the 2017 store, which I also showed in the previous video. And I just want to note that the pockets on the special edition cover on covers are matte, while the pockets on the basic cover on covers are glossy. So those are all of the covers that I have purchased from the Hobonichi 2018 store. We have the Carnation, and we have the um, Blue Gingham, and then we have the Thank You All, and then the cover on covers that I purchased were the Hana Nomad and the Beginnings. And that's 5 different covers in all. And here I really am just putting everything back into their original packaging because I am not going to use them all at the same time. I only use one A5 journal at any given moment, so I'm not going to be using them for multiple books. But of course, I have decided to change out the cover that I have in my current A5 journal. um, I am currently on the Caribbean blue with a basic cover on cover. I really liked using this cover and cover on cover, and I decided to take them out of the notebook and put them back in their original packaging. The folded piece of plastic you can see there, that's the original packaging of the cover, Caribbean blue, and also of the cover on cover. And that's just me taking out all the rest of the things that I have placed inside that particular cover. These are the things that have accumulated in the pockets over the short period of time that I have been using the cover on cover. I always keep the original packaging of everything that I have and everything that I have purchased because it makes storage easier. And if I have to eventually give it away to someone, I always put them back in their original packaging. Now, this Caribbean blue cover does not remind me of my childhood. It reminds me of Eau de Nil, which is a beautiful fountain pen ink that I used for One Book July 2016. And it was a happy challenge for me to do. I was happy to do it. I made a bunch of videos for it, which I will also link down below, of course. But it doesn't remind me of my childhood. But I think it's also a happy color to keep, and I will keep it in its original packaging together with the rest. And then, of course, because I am switching covers and I am going to use either of the two new cover on covers that I purchased from the 2018 store, I'm going to put this basic cover back in its original packaging as well. That's why it's always nice to keep the original packaging of things. I have decided to switch to the Carnation cover because I cannot resist a Winnie the Pooh memory. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate. And of course, I'm going to keep the original plastic in good order so that if I switch out of that particular cover, I can reuse it. And I decided to match the Carnation cover with the Beginnings cover on cover because I think the white birds with a gold flecks would look really, really pretty with a plain pink background. It's going to look very, very feminine, and I really, really like that. So I was putting on the Beginnings cover on cover on the Carnation cover, and that's when I noticed that I had a slight problem. if you can see, the pen loop at the back does not really fit in with the edge of the cover on cover, and that is why the cover looks a little bit squashed inside the cover on cover, because the Carnation cover could not extend the full length of the cover on cover. There's an unused space inside the cover on cover, and the Carnation cover would not stretch out. It would not, it just would not spread completely. I didn't really I didn't really give it much thought at that point, although I found it a little bit disturbing. I put in my A5 notebook in anyway because I thought that if the notebook was already there, it would kind of fix things. Um, so there's just me. And this is, by the way, this is the correct way to put a cover on your Hobonichi or any perfect or case bound notebook. Still, the cover would not lie flat, and I found it a little bit disturbing. And you can see that the cover on cover at the back part is starting to get deformed, and even the cover inside the cover and cover is noticeably deformed. It would not, it would not stretch out. It keeps getting wrinkles. There was something wrong with the fit. This cover and cover does not have the zip lock opening, but that's okay. I hardly put anything in that part anyway. And I kept fiddling around with the entire setup. As you can see, the cover does not really enclose the notebook properly. It keeps getting wrinkles everywhere, and I didn't know what the problem was. I could not identify that until I noticed that this part of the cover and cover kept getting deformed because the edge of it is pushing against the pen loop. There was something wrong with either the pen loop or the cover on cover. I did not know which one was it, although it does look so pretty and I wanted so much to use it. I I was not I was really annoyed by the deformity. I really could not use it this way. So of course I had to eventually take out the beginnings cover on cover, and as you can see, it already started getting deformed, and I took out my basic cover on cover from 2017. I wanted to try it out if it would have that same problem with the Carnation cover because I never had that problem with a Caribbean blue cover. And this is the first time that I'm experiencing the problem with the Carnation and the beginnings together. So when I put the basic cover on cover over the Carnation, as you can see, it fit perfectly. There was no problem at all. There was no wrinkling, um, and there was no deformity at all. So the problem really was the beginnings cover on cover because this one had no problem. The problem was not with the Carnation cover. The problem was the beginnings cover on cover, and I was really disappointed. I was really sad because I loved that cover so much. And just for a comparison, this is the two cover on covers together. I will be sliding them together until the edges match so that you can see that the beginnings cover on cover has a wider pocket. Can you see the difference? One of the cover on covers has a wider pocket than the other, and the one with the wider pocket is the beginnings cover on cover. Let us measure with an actual ruler. As you can see, there is a difference of about 4 millimeters. That is how much wider the pocket of the beginnings cover on cover is. It should not be 4 millimeters wider because if it's wider, then the pen loop at the back is definitely going to be hitting on the edge of that beginnings cover on cover, and it will start getting deformed and it will make the entire setup look a little bit wonky, which I really don't like. And Hobonichi actually replied to my email about this matter. It was a very, very quick response. They asked me to take specific pictures of a specific cover and cover on cover combinations and send the pictures to them. And that's what I did. And now I'm just waiting for their response. And I hope that this is going to be resolved favorably and quickly. But while waiting for a resolution, I have switched to the Hana Nomad cover for the Carnation cover. And it was fine. Combining the cobwebs with the Winnie the Pooh wasn't really my original idea. I kind of wanted to use the cobwebs with the Caribbean blue, but I wanted to use the Winnie the Pooh as well. So I think I'll use this for now. The Hana Nomad fits perfectly over that area, so I am relieved that only one of the items was defective from this particular purchase. And sad to say, the beginnings cover on cover is going to go back into the box. And so that is why I am on this particular configuration right now. I have the Carnation cover with the Hana Nomad cover on cover for my Midori MDA5 notebook, which I am using as a journal. It looks cute, it looks pretty. Then the Hana Nomad doesn't have the Ziploc pocket either, but that's perfectly fine. Um, I I think it's okay. Not as pretty as the beginnings cover on cover, but it'll do. I am looking forward to a resolution that the Hobonichi company will be giving me. I think they are right on top of it. They are being very responsive. So I am looking forward to a good ending to the story. Comment down below what are the covers that you got from the Hobonichi 2018 store and let me know what your favorites are. And I will talk to you there. Thanks for watching. Bye.